Jeremy Nicholas, and this is the After Dinner Show, and I've got some cracking guests on tonight. Olga Gaydana is a mindset coach and international speaker. She makes people cry first, then reinvents and transforms them, and she's joining us now from Bowtree near Doncaster. Hi, Olga, how are you? We've got Ricky Arundel. There she is. Ricky Arundel is a keynote speaker and voice actor, confuses everyone by identifying as trans, feminine, non-binary, and was once a Butlins Redcoat. And she joins us now from Hull. Hi, Ricky. And Deborah Henley helps inspirational people to inspire with their message and story. She once helped a friend swim the channel, doing all her training in a hot yoga studio. She hates cold water, and she joins us from southwest London, either Barnes or Putney, depending on how posh she's feeling. I think it's actually Putney, but she says Barnes. Hello, everyone. Welcome for joining me. How are you all? Yay. So let's talk backgrounds first of all. So Olga, you've gone very plain with your background, very professional, and the sunglasses on the top of your head and nod to the weather. That's lovely. Is it hot? Is it hot near Doncaster?
It is bliming hot, absolutely hot. Yes, that's why I'm wearing a dress today. It's really hot.
Yeah, it's not hot enough for me to wear a dress yet. Ricky, now behind you is that's some building in Hull, isn't it?
It is. It's the Deep. It's one of I think it's only 3 Millennium projects still existing, maybe 4. Oh yeah, they kept the dome as well, didn't they? So yeah, it's a big, huge fish tank basically with sharks and glass elevators and glass tunnels and things. So quite fun.
Brilliant. And Deborah, you've got some paintings behind you. Now, is that stuff that you've painted?
That is stuff I've painted. That's my hand here. Hands are really difficult to paint, but self-portraits are even worse. That's not my self-portrait.
Yeah, I was going to say, who's that then?
It's Dame Mary Beard, but it could be me in a few years hence. Let's see.
Yeah. And oh, lovely. And
wow.
Does she live in Barnes / Putney?
No, it's part of Sky Art's Portrait Artist of the Week, but she probably lives in Barnes if she lives anywhere.
Yeah.
Not.
Oh, is it a challenge to who can paint the most famous history professor?
Everybody paints. There are about thousands of people that all paint the same person. So there are thousands of Dame Mary Beards. If you go on PAOTW, Portrait Artist of the Week, #, you'll see thousands. If Dame Mary Beard is your thing, you can see her in many different styles.
Yeah. Be awful if you misheard and you painted Mary Berry, wouldn't it? And that would you wouldn't
They're quite similar to look at,
down market. Yeah, it's lovely. Now let's just clear a few things up. Olga, your accent, not typically Doncaster, I would say. Where are you originally from?
You are right, Jeremy. It's not typical Doncaster accent. It is actually Russian, but I was born in Latvia. So people always wonder where from in Russia I came from. And I said, well, not from Russia, from Latvia. So it's Latvian Russian. But because I spent 7 years here in Yorkshire, in Leeds, and then I moved here, that's why it's a mixture. So it's Yorkshire Russian now.
Yorkshire Russian, that sounds like a cocktail, doesn't it?
That's right.
Vodka and a bit of tea.
Well, white tea and vodka.
Oh yes, let's just check what everyone's drinking. You've got vodka, obviously, being a Latvian Russian Yorkshire person. I've got whiskey as normal.
Got a drop of red wine here.
Got red wine. And Deborah?
And a Barnes Bubble.
A Barnes Bubble. Okay, I don't know what that is. Is it a cocktail of some sort?
A cocktail made with elderflower and filtered water.
Okay.
Delicious.
So the rules are everyone has to tell a true story live from first-hand experience. Those that's the only rules. You have to have had your dinner because it's the after dinner show. Just checking everyone's had their dinner. I mean, to be honest, if you say, well, no, it's in the oven, I'm not going to go right, you're out. I'm not going to kick you out, but it's just a thing. So you've all got your main stories, which have to be a true story. I should also, for full disclosure, tell you I've got my window open and there's some children outside playing very noisily, but it's just so hot. Isn't it hot at the moment? So I thought we might just kick off with some isn't it hot type stories. Give me a story about an extreme of temperature that you've experienced. Let's kick off with Ricky. Have you ever had like really hot or really cold?
Yeah, I got to go back to when I was 12 years old, and my dad ran a milk round. We lived in a pub in Wiltshire, in Garsted. That's with a G, not a B, and this small little village. But everybody lived in very remote places. So the milk round was all about taking milk out to very, very, very remote places. And it snowed on Boxing Day, 1962, and the snow didn't actually go until the end of March 1963. So all the milkmen used to have a kid working with them, and no kids wanted to do it. It was too cold and they all said no. So I got the job as the milk round boy then, and £1.50, well, £1.10 I used to get paid per week, in this bitter cold, starting at about 6 o'clock in the morning. But that was my coldness, and it really was unbelievably cold. The snow was like a foot thick on the roads, ice. There we go. Very, very cold.
Yeah. Famous winter of 62, 63. Now, the other two, I'm imagining, are too young to remember that unless they've got fantastic moisturizer. But actually, I was alive because I was born November 1962. And I always remember my parents saying that just a month after I was born, it suddenly snowed and stayed frozen for 3 months, exactly like you said. And I think that's why I hate the cold, because as a baby, I should imagine I was shivering away.
Was that when
so Olga, obviously being...
Did they have people skating on the Thames that year?
Yeah, go on, Deborah.
Was that the year they had people skating on the Thames?
Yes.
Yeah.
It
Well,
was.
Ricky
Last time it happened.
Because Ricky was in Garsted. Is it Garsted?
Garsted, yeah.
Garsted. Just sounds to me like a ventriloquist trying to swear. Anyway, Olga, you won't. You'll be very tolerant of the cold. Being a Latvian Russian, you must be used to it being very icy, aren't you?
Well, you think, Jeremy, the reason why I moved to England, well, one of the reasons why I moved to England was not only following my dream, but also because in England, there is no snow and there's no cold winters. So what happened when I arrived here in 2009, that was May, and then December 2009, I was absolutely frozen on a bus stop, hearing people saying that this is the coldest winter in 30 years. And I'm thinking, excuse me, I came to Britain hoping I'm not going to see snow in my life ever again. Nah, it was snowy. So no, Jeremy, I'm not good with cold weather at all. So one year when I came back to Latvia to visit my family during December holiday, which I will never do again, because I just got back into a situation when I was coming out of the plane and see the snow is everywhere, everything is white, and I'm thinking, well, it's fine, in England it's also snowy, it's absolutely fine. But I forgot that actually you can't breathe. So I had to close my mouth, but my face with my hands and gloves in order to breathe, because I was not able to. It was so cold. And like in England, as long as there's like +1, everything is fine. And then it goes to 0, then goes to -1. School gets closed, it's dangerous situations, all the shops 24/7 get closed. In Latvia, life continues. It was -24 and kids were still going to school. And I thought, what a silly country, what are you doing, people? But that's because I already got used to living in England. So I hate snow, I can't stand snow, I hate cold, I love warm, I love hot weather, I like the ocean, sunny weather, and all the rest of it. So yeah, I'm questioning cold weather.
Yeah, -24. I don't think we'd send our kids to school in minus anything. I mean, our trains stop if we have the wrong sort of snow. So it's ridiculous. I'll do a story about cold weather in a moment. But Deborah, have you got a hot or cold story for us?
Well, I've got a hot story. I grew up in Hong Kong. I went there when I was 5 years old, and it's really hot and muggy and humid there, which I love. But I just remember turning up there and being in the playground and going, wow, it's really hot. And the teacher said to me, it's going to get even hotter than this. And I remember just my brain almost just exploded. I thought, how could it possibly be any hotter than this? It's so hot. But then I went to Abu Dhabi, with work, and just about 5 or 6 years ago, and we arrived at 10 p.m. at night, and I couldn't believe it was 40 degrees Celsius at 10 p.m. at night. It was unbelievable. But I just want to share some quick photos from that thing, because it was such a strange trip, and I wanted to share that sometimes it's a challenge. So that was me with my little group, you see, and then knowing which was the ladies and which was the gents, and but after a while I got used to it. So that's me outside the amazing mosque in Abu Dhabi. It's really hot there. If anyone's been to UAE, you'll know it really, like 40 degrees is a nice cool day, and you wouldn't walk anywhere. But 24 hours later, that was me in Texas outside Hooters.
Classic.
So it was this weird sort of time where I went from one thing to the other, but both were very hot. But that's kind of where when you said think of hot things, this is kind of what came to mind. So, and the other thing about being in Texas, having come from Abu Dhabi where everything's really strict, they had these signs on the Hooters door, kind of, oh, just put your handgun away, don't bring it in, it's and then underneath, warning, oyster lovers, consumer information, there's a risk associated with it. And I kind of loved that idea that handguns were fine, but oysters weren't. So there's a ramble, a hot ramble through.
A hot ramble. It was an enjoyable hot ramble. I've always found it very strange in South Africa when I go that they, at the airport, it always says, check your handguns in here. It's not like don't bring a gun on the plane. You're allowed to bring it on, but it has to go in a certain area. Or if you go to a casino, it says you must check your handgun in, so that they know, if someone does get shot, who's done it. Because
another thing about South Africa is they go, drink driving is not advised. It's not it's prohibited or it's illegal. It's just, not a good idea.
No, absolutely. So my story about being too cold is I worked on regional television in the East Midlands when my broadcasting career was kind of on the way down, before my speaking career started to come up. I started doing regional TV news reporting in a region that wasn't even my region. So it was like a real life Alan Partridge. And I did a lot of stuff in Nottingham, and I would stay just with friends, and often in their attic room. And it would be so cold at night that about an hour after the central heating went off, it would almost be the outside temperature. And the first time it really caught me out. And because I haven't got much hair, my head was so cold. I only survived through the night by sleeping with the next day's underpants on my head to keep me warm. That's how bad it was. Yeah. And top tip, if you ever have to do that, you've always got to make sure it's the next day's underpants, not the previous day's.
So have you actually read Notes from a Small Island?
Clive James? No, Bill Bryson.
Bill Bryson. Yeah. No. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because he had a whole episode of his underpants on his head in a bus stop, didn't he? And
do you know, I think that may be where I got it from. I think I treated that book very much as a manual to life outside. Yeah, I'd completely forgotten that, but he did. Yeah, on a bus stop, he did have to have pants on his head.
What's more important is,
right,
did they match your socks?
I don't remember, because I was shivering. I was shivering so much that I couldn't actually take a photograph of it, but I told everyone and they all thought it was hilarious. Right, let's crack on with our stories. Let's kick off, Olga, with your story then. What's your story about? It's something about never being too early to start your life, isn't it? So tell me about that.
That's right. Well, my story is never too early or too late to start a new life. And it is actually quite an interesting story, because it's very emotional to me. One day I went to a networking event, and there was a man who came to me after I introduced myself and said what I do. And he asked me, Olga, do you think you can help me? I'm 73 and I really would love to meet the love of my life. I'm single and my second wife died recently, but I feel lonely and I would love to be with somebody who just make me happier and to spend days together, travel together, all the rest of it. And even though I know it's possible, in my head I was thinking, blimey, half of those ladies, they probably are dead, and other half, they probably cannot even move. And he looked like 53, 56. He did not look anything like 73-year-old man. So in my head, I was thinking, how can I help this man to find somebody with whom he can feel happier, can feel merrier, and actually spend the rest of his lifetime. And long story short, because it is a very long story, but long story short, you'll be surprised, Jeremy and Ricky and Deborah, that actually 3 months later, he met a lady who was blown away by the fact that they had really remarkable relationships, and she was okay with him being so much more older than her. But also 4 months later, they got married.
No.
And that's one of the examples how it's never too late to really start your new life, even though he was twice widowed, even though in between those marriage relationships, he actually had 16 relationships. So it doesn't matter how many relationships you had, it's never too late to start a brand new life and be happy. But Jeremy, there's another example, which is my own. When actually I started my new life, my brand new life at the age of 13, because that was the age when actually I was, well, probably right now I could say in the professional terms, depressed, but back then I just didn't feel myself. And at that age, I thought, well, maybe it's time to end my life because there were many reasons. But long story short, right now I do what I do simply because of what happened to me back then. And if I look back and I'm thinking that was the best time in my life, yes, it was dark. Like right now, we're in a pandemic situation, people think, oh my God, what we're gonna do after this? We're never gonna go back to normal. And I always say that this could be your best moment in your life, because from here, you can start your brand new life. So it's really never too late, and it's never too early to start your new life, whether it is your relationships, your business, or maybe private life.
Great story. I thought you were going to tell me, I thought the way that first story was going, I thought you were going to say, and Jeremy, I married him.
Jeremy,
Right,
I can't.
But it didn't go that way. But yeah, maybe that. No, but that would have been a good. Yours is he still married to that lady?
He is.
Do we know?
Yes, he is.
Oh, we don't know. Right. Okay. He is still married. All right. Sorry. It's my internet might. He is still married to that lady. Fantastic.
He is. Yes,
okay. So some lovely inspirational stories. It's never. He is. Okay. Perfect. Right. Let's crack on and go to Ricky for an intriguing story about saving the world from nuclear disaster. What the heck's this all about?
Right. Well, this is the thing. When I was younger, my dad was an engineer. He'd grown up as a Rolls-Royce engineer. He sort of did all the stuff with he was on the Ark Royal, and so as a consequence, because he was all big into engineering, we were very much pushed down, study sciences, do maths and physics and everything else. So I ended up doing physics A level, and we had this crazy physics teacher who used to. Have you ever heard of a Van de Graaff generator by any chance? Anybody know?
Oh yeah, yeah. So it's like
a Van de Graaff generator is a thing you wind up.
Your hair stands
That's exactly
up.
it. And he used to do all that. His hair
that
went everywhere.
That was when that's what happened to my hair. I had full head of hair, put my hand on top of the Van de Graaff generator, and it all came flying out like on Weird Science.
Oh, well, that's quite interesting, because when he went to move, because he couldn't understand why it wasn't charging up. He said, I don't understand this. And we could all see what was happening. And then he went to move the thing, and he shot 30,000 volts down the thing. But anyway, anyway, so I quite like the idea of physics. And I thought, well, I'm going to go into engineering, but we've got to try and think 1960s. Okay, this was like 68. And there were no electronic calculators in 1968. They didn't exist. They hadn't been invented. And calculators had handles on them, and they were mechanical things that you wound. Honestly, this is true. Nobody believes it. They think 68. Well, that wasn't that long. No. There was no computers. There was no Facebook. There was no. I mean, it was a very different world. So, and everybody thought we're coming into the atomic age. Everybody called it the atomic age. Computers were in big rooms, and they had cards and things to run them. So I thought, well, what do I do? And I looked around all the various different things I could do, and I thought nuclear engineering. That would be a good thing. So I applied to go to Queen Mary College in London to take nuclear engineering and become a nuclear engineer, as the nuclear industry was taking off, and this was going to be the whole thing. We had nuclear submarines, and it was all nuclear. And I failed all my A-levels. Helped a lot. Well, I got my maths, but the rest just absolutely fell apart. I only needed 3 C's, but I didn't even manage to I got all F's. So that was pretty much the end of that. And when I was watching the Chernobyl series when it was on, and I'm watching these people, and literally what happened, somebody said, "You did shut that such thing down, didn't you?" And he said, "Yeah." "Oh, no." "Oh, shit." Boom. And I thought, that would have been me. If I had become a nuclear engineer, I would have been sitting there and somebody said, because I mean, I forget to turn the iron off all the time. You have to turn the iron off. Yeah, I have. Oh, no, I haven't. I now have an iron that turns itself off just to make sure that we don't do that. But I'll leave the gas on, leave it. So I am terrible. So I could just imagine if I had become a nuclear engineer, I would have been sitting here one day and somebody said, "You did turn that off, didn't you?" "Yeah." "Oh, no, shit, boom." And that would have been it. We'd have had a Chernobyl in the South Coast. So, but I want to carry on very briefly because of what happened next. Because having failed everything, I said, but I want to go back for another 3 years and for another year. And we're going to do something a bit different. I'm going to do economics because somebody told me that's a steal. You could easily do that one. It's much easier, only in a year. And sociology, nobody'd ever done that before. It didn't exist as an A-level. So I'm sitting with a friend of mine whose name was Alan Stevens, not the Alan Stevens who is now in the PSA. This was another Alan Stevens. And he was heavily into drama and had done the sort of, and every year the college did whatever was the GCSE play, or GCE then, they did that Shakespeare play. And this particular year, it was going to be Julius Caesar. My friend was already playing Cassius. Another guy had got Brutus. So there was one big part up for it. And I said, "Oh, I don't know." And then this girl walked past and she's really, really hot. And I really fancied her. And I said, "Oh, God, I really fancy her." And he said, "Well, you should see her in bra and knickers." I said, "What do you mean?" Said, "Well, we only have one changing room for the drama group." I said, "I'm going through audition." So I went and auditioned. And I thought, I've got to win this part. So I learnt most of the "Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I can do Bury Caesar, not too proud," all that thing, you know. And I really socked it with this one. So everybody who was thinking about audition for this part gave up after my audition. Said, "No, I'm not going to do it." So I got the part. And then the drama lecturer said, "Well, okay, you got the part, but you're not really good enough. So I want you to do some drama classes." And I checked the course and I found out the sort of whole A-level drama class, which was a big course, fitted in with all my free periods. So I did, it was not actually A-level, it was grade 8 Royal Schools of Music, but I did drama. And that was the start of my speaking career. So instead of blowing up the world by becoming a nuclear engineer, I ended up taking a drama course and becoming a professional speaker. So there we go.
And being Mark Antony. And I think we all want to know, did you get to see her in her bra and knickers?
I did, but I also got to see her boyfriend.
Aha.
And he was big.
And was he wearing bra and knickers?
No, he wasn't. I'm the one who ended up wearing the bra and knickers.
Yes, you did. But that's a story for another day.
I did.
Fantastic. Well, I thought when you said you'd saved the world from nuclear disaster, I thought you'd done something really heroic, like Tom Cruise, Jack Reacher type Mission Impossible thing. But actually, it was just you realised you were inept, so you didn't go on to do the thing.
Yeah, I saved the world by not doing it.
Yeah, I'm glad that British nuclear fuels industry decided not to have someone with 3 Fs. I think that was very wise.
The irony of that is that last year they invited me back and I now do transgender awareness training for British nuclear fuels. So,
oh, brilliant. It's all turned out very nice.
It's all turned out very well.
Good. Deborah, let's come to you. I was going to say you're muted, but you've unmuted yourself seamlessly. I don't know why I mentioned it because now I've made it seem like I don't know what I'm doing. But so yeah, yes, I know that your microphone is really only miming and don't.
And you know this other thing that I sometimes.
Yes, you sometimes pretend to freeze. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
It's good. It's. So tell me about your story. Is this about the channel and cold weather? What's this about?
It's not about the channel. This is a merry little tale of a swim in cold water to the mouth of the Thames.
Oh, okay.
And it was just soon after I'd had a baby. My baby hadn't even been weaned yet, and my husband thought it'd be a nice idea to get me back in the swim, and suggested I went with his friends to swim 5 kilometers at Lechlade towards the mouth of the Thames. Now, there's one thing about the mouth of a river even in September at the end of summer, the water is freezing. And I'm, as I said, a warm weather kind of girl. So I don't like cold water. I do like swimming, but I didn't have a wetsuit. So I had to sort of borrow an ill-fitting, worn out one. And I didn't realize it's not necessarily a good idea to put your head in the water, in that cold water. The others were going along swimming breaststroke quite merrily. And I swam along with a couple of others who we all decided we put our heads down and we'd go for it, and we'd put our goggles on and really swim as fast as we could and get to the end as quickly as we could so we could get out of the cold water. But it's a very bucolic scene. You can, as you're swimming along, you turn and breathe and there might be a duck paddling along just inches from your eyes. You get a kind of duck's eye view of things, and cows are kind of walking in and out, probably crapping into the water. I don't know, but it's, you know, it's a lovely farm style kind of scene. And I was going along with this other guy, my buddy, swimming along, and he suddenly went, "Oh my God, my leg's frozen up. I can't swim anymore. I've got to get to the banks of the river." And he started panicking and swimming, you know, and I suddenly thought, oh no, my buddy is opting out, and he was the person keeping me going. So he started swimming to the banks of the river. Oh, sorry, that's a train going past. I'll just let it pass. I've got this problem. I've got a train problem.
Can I just say, I like the way you say, "I'll just let it pass." Like the option was you might stop it and say, "Sorry, I'm in the middle of a story here and my friend's legs have just gone to sleep."
It's the train of my thought continues. But
yeah, which train is it? Where would that be going to and from?
That's there's one that goes to Richmond and one that goes to Chiswick. We get both going past because they split at Barnes.
Oh, and they're both going to Waterloo, are they?
They're going to Waterloo, yeah.
Okay, it's good to have that detail. Okay. Meanwhile, back at the story. So your buddy, as you keep calling him, his legs have gone to sleep, and you're thinking, shall I let him drown or should I go to the bank with him?
Well, and I was feeling a bit warmer with his panic, because I was feeling like I'm somehow, you know, he's failing and I'm therefore hotter, you know. So there's this weird feeling. But then the little speedboat came past, and my friend said, "I've got to get out." So he climbed out of the water into the speedboat, and got this nice warm blanket with a kind of silvery reflective layer. And, you know, so there he was. And I didn't say, "Oh, could I get out?" And I just said, "Well, what shall I do? And how much further is it?" And they said, "Oh, why don't you swim back against the stream? That'll warm you up." As if swimming against the stream has greater friction or something. But anyway, I swam back. I was freezing. I met somebody else who was swimming along. So he became my new buddy, and we swam along together. And I just said, "I've got to get out. I've got to get out." And finally, I went to the banks of the river myself. There was no speedboat to take me out. And I just stood on the side, shivering. And this man said, I don't know you very well, but I hope you don't mind me just patting you down, because you look very cold." So there he was patting me down, and the speedboat came back, and I said, "Can I get in the speedboat?" And they went, "Oh no, we've already taken one person. You'll just have to swim to the end." I don't know what their thinking was, but I had to get back in this freezing cold water, and I actually started gibbering like an idiot, which continued. I got out of the water and felt absolutely freezing. And my party at the end, my support party, my husband and my new baby, were not there. They'd gone off to have a nice cup of coffee in a cafe. So I had nothing to change into.
No.
People lent me blankets, and it took me hours to warm back up again. And, you know, the gibbering continued, and some people say it's been that way ever since.
Yeah, I thought when you said that you'd carried on gibbering, I thought you were going to say for the next 10 years.
I think it probably has been. It was about 5 years ago.
And so the thing I'm intrigued in so there's a couple of things. One is that when the guy was really struggling, you felt warmer because you were kind of better than he was. I like that, the competitive element, that, you know, yes, he might be drowning, but at least I'm better than him. And then this strange man's just patting you down. Who was he? Was he just a bystander?
No, he's another swimmer in the party.
Oh.
But he could see I was really cold, because my feet were like 2 lumps of meat. I couldn't even feel my feet. I walked out of the water, and and they were just kind of like these flabby things on the end of my legs. I couldn't really, they must have just sort of frozen. The thing is, I think because I just had a baby fairly recently and he wasn't yet weaned, I think I was probably not as robust as I might be normally, because I was the only one that got hypothermia that day. And everybody else, they're going, oh, but you're such a good swimmer and you put your head in the water and everything. And I was thinking maybe it's because I put my head in the water and didn't get out at the same time. But I thought that would be a nice story to cool everybody down tonight.
Yes,
Story
I
of
think we're all
hypothermia.
feeling a bit hot, aren't we?
It's quite warm.
Yeah. So at school, I was always a bit scared of swimming with my face in the water. I always found that a bit frightening. And so when I went to big school, and so I was in East London, so we went to big school when you were 11. And for the first term, the teacher made you swim with your face in the water. And he had one of those rescue poles, you know, like a aluminium pole with a hoop on it that's meant to rescue you. But he used that to hold your head under the water as you swam a width. I mean, that wouldn't be allowed now, would it? That wouldn't be allowed now, would it?
It wouldn't be allowed now, no.
And we all hated him. And his name was Mr. Martin, this PE teacher. Everyone called him Mr. Martin. And everyone called him Doc Martin, like the bother boots that the football hooligans would wear. Doc Martin. I think, oh, Doc Martin's holding everyone's head under again. Oh, no. So on a Sunday night, I used to pray, please don't have to do swimming on Monday. Please don't have to do swimming on Monday. And one Monday, this is a surprise ending to this one. I know it's been a bit dull up till now, this story. Monday, we went in and everyone's shocked. The swimming pool roof had fallen in.
Yay!
Yeah.
So it was like arson, but
yeah,
whatever you call that.
And it was like Jesus had listened to my prayers and said, Doc Martin is bullying you, Jeremy. I will let that roof collapse in. And so I never had to swim again. Except then my parents sent me to learn to swim at the local baths. But at least Doc Martin wasn't there with a pole.
He wasn't there when it collapsed then?
Well, I've got a little trip up the Thames if you fancy it, Jem.
Have you?
Yes. Another little swim.
Yeah, because I'm only just round the bend from you, aren't I? Just
you are. We're within swimming distance, probably.
Well, you might be able to swim it. It's I would say it's about 3 or 4 miles, but I don't think I could swim that far.
But my school swimming pool was apparently solar heated. This is my when I was in England, and it was solar heated. They said it was solar heated, but it was just painted black, and that was the solar heating.
So that just would absorb more of the heat. Yeah, I noticed when you were in that very hot country, was it Abu Dhabi? So
yes,
the Emirates, and you wore a completely black outfit, and I thought that wouldn't be very appropriate in a hot climate, would it?
The men wear white and the women wear black, and that's just how it is. But underneath their black habaya, as they're called, they have the most beautiful dresses on and fantastic. Well, the makeup and the nails you might very well see peeping through. But you don't often get to see the designer clothes and things that they wear underneath, but they all wear most wonderful clothes. It was really an interesting time being there, but I didn't wear wonderful clothes underneath. I wore as little as possible because it got very hot.
Okay, and I realise we've got a gender diversity expert on the programme tonight. So is that right, Ricky? That in some countries, literally, you wear black if you're a woman, white if you're a man?
I mean, all sorts of countries do different things around gender, don't they? I've worked in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and I've noticed that I wasn't aware that it was a sort of like a requirement, but I have noticed that the men wear white, the women wear black a lot, and very seldom see the women at events where men are. They tend to separate completely. So. But I was thinking about Dubai. I mean, if you don't like cold water, I went swimming in the Gulf, and I was really surprised at just how hot the sea is in the Gulf in the Gulf. I mean, it's so warm and it's so salty that you almost can't drown. You just float in this very, very warm. It's like walking through treacle. Did you go swimming when you were in?
I did, and I there's something slightly wrong, I think, about when you swim in the sea. And you can never tell if someone's sort of urinated nearby. It's that kind of warm temperature, and it's slightly off-putting.
It's quite odd, isn't it? It's very, very weird. But I quite enjoyed swimming there. It was very, very odd. But I haven't been back to Dubai since I changed gender. I felt that was probably not going to work. And I have friends who've been to Dubai after having changed gender and have experienced some considerable difficulties.
Yeah.
Even at the airport, it's quite a challenge. So
they're very strict on all sorts of things. What I remember working with, I went there on and off over a 2-year period, and one woman wasn't. She was living with her boyfriend, and she was sent away from the country. Unmarried. I was just muting myself because another train was going past.
And then you realised that actually, because you were talking, it would also mute you. Yeah. It's funny how that technology works, isn't it? Don't worry, I'll cover with an emergency story. So when I was at school, they used to stop the children weeing in the pool. They used to put a sort of dye in the water so that if you weed, it would come out as red.
I thought that was the thing they said to children, but it's not true. Is it true?
Oh, I don't know, because it's a long time ago and I've had a whiskey. But as I remember it, I was told that it used to be red, and then there would be embarrassment because it looked like people were either bleeding or girls were having their period. So they changed the dye, so now that it was blue. So it just looked like
my local the gym I used to use before coronavirus it's a DW Sport one. That they have a really nice swimming pool, but they weren't getting enough people using it, so they suddenly decided to open it up to kids on Saturdays and other times. And of course the kids go in there and they always pee in the pool, so we now have to change the time we go there. But they have got some chemical in the water there, which means that if the kids pee in the pool, they can immediately see that it's happened. So.
And what color? The important thing is, what color does it go, Ricky?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I thought it was like a bright green, but
I thought it was purple. So we've all been told.
I think maybe they can use whatever color they can pick a color, can't they? Maybe that's it.
It's like the fumes that come out of a red jet. Not a red jet, red arrow.
I just make sure I don't go anywhere near the pool until at least 3 hours after the kids have left, so that there's no possibility of contamination.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind kids peeing in the pool as long as they don't do it from the top diving board. I think it's all right. I think it's just a natural thing. Olga, you're looking horrified at all these British people talking about weeing in pool. In Latvia / Russia, did you never wee in the pool?
Well, I'm sure it happens everywhere and all over the world. It's just I don't do it myself. I've never done it myself. So that's why I'm just horrified, really. But I'm sure it happens all over the world. But yeah, it does surprise me because I've never seen any cold water around me in any pool so far.
I've never seen it. I think it's
never seen it.
Apocryphal tale or whatever the word is. It apocryphal?
Apocryphal.
Apocryphal.
I went to school in Bath when I was younger, and the great thing about Bath is that they have spa waters, which they basically have water which is geothermally heated. So it's heated up by volcanic activity way down and pumped back up. So all the water is really warm in all the and you can also go to the pump rooms and you can drink it, which is supposed to be very good for you as well. And hopefully this isn't the one that's come from the swimming pool where it's peed in when you drink it. So.
But if anyone would know, someone who'd gone to school in Bath would know the colour. I think it is apocryphal. I think hypocritical is when you tell a very trendy story. That's what hypocritical means.
Oh,
right. We're just out of time. I just know from crosswords, whenever it's hip or trendy, it means in. I'm rambling. So let's finish by saying who you all are and how people can get in touch should they want to book you to speak at their event. Let's kick off with you then, Olga. How do people get in touch with you?
Well, I'm on social media just by my name, Olga Gaydana. Wherever you are, you can go on your favorite social media and find me there, or my website, usual www.olgagaydana.com, just my name, and I can help you to start your brand new life, being new you. And yes, I'll make you cry because we have to strip down everything that happened to you before. That's one of the process of what we do, but actually you're going to be reinvented.
So that's the one thing that worries me when you say that you make people cry. I mean, how often, what percentage of people do you make cry? So if 20 people come to you, how many of them would you make cry?
Jeremy, I must say, all people cry, whether out of happiness at the very end, because like the other day, a big rugby guy, he actually came to see me face to face, even though we are just out of lockdown, but he was like, Olga, I need to see you face to face because I have great news to share with you. And he came to my office, and he's like big bloke, and he's like rugby player, so he's massive. And he, and on my desk there's always a tissue box. He sat down and he shared a story with me how he finally is in a very happy relationships, and we have done tremendous work with him, coming out from the previous really messy relationships and working on himself. So now he's really happy, and he was crying out of happiness because he couldn't believe how really nice partnership they have right now with his girlfriend. So it's either at the end out of happiness, or in the beginning when people just feel they never live their own authentic lives and they're just not happy. So I mean, it could be sad cries, it could be happy cries, but the end story is always nice. That's the main point. There's always happy ending.
I think you should definitely have that as a guarantee. I'll make you cry or your money back. Ricky, let's go to you. How do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, well, when I speak about all things gender, transgender particularly, but LGBTQ and gender equality, it's such, like, my website is genderspeaker.com. But it just turns out when I changed my name to Ricky Arundel, I didn't know that actually I was going to pick a globally unique name, which it is. Nobody else has the name Ricky Arundel. So if you just type Ricky Arundel into Google, I think I'm the first 178 entries that come up. So you can get me on LinkedIn. You can find me at Gender Speaker, rickyarundel.com, all sorts of places. But I'm now also doing voice acting and voiceovers, and getting very heavily into book narration and such like, thanks to lockdown. So, and I haven't got web pages ready for that yet. I'm in the process of preparing those, but you can find me then. And my email address is just ricky@arundel.com. It's dead easy.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And Deborah, here's time for your plug. If people want to book you to speak or buy a portrait of Mary Beard, how would they get in touch?
I'm going to talk through this train. I'm not the only Deborah Henley even in Britain. There's another one that lives about 2 miles away, I think. She, when I went to the yoga center to do my first month that you could do more cheaply, she'd already done the first month more cheaply, and they wouldn't let me sign up for my first month because Deborah Henley had already done it. But she's in the Pilates industry, and I'm in the industry of helping people to inspire with their message and their story. So I help speakers and I help leaders tell their story and share their message on stage, or now on video. And
so people just Google Deborah Henley, but put minus Pilates, so
Pilates,
that they don't.
Yeah. And but you can go to my Vivacity website, vivacitygroup.co.uk. But that's too much to remember. So just Deborah Henley will find me.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, all of you, for joining us. I've been Jeremy Nicholas. I'm jeremynicholas.co.uk. Don't go to jeremynicholas.com because there is another one. In fact, I got an email that was meant for him today with someone saying, I hope you don't mind me contacting you, but I read your brilliant book on the pianist Godowsky, and I wanted to check one of your sources because I want to find out about some bloke called Douglas Miller or something. And I just thought, unless they're footballers, I haven't heard of them. So I just said, you don't want me, you want this. I'll tell you who you want. And I emailed it across. So hopefully you'll find the right person. Right. Thank you very much. We'll say goodbye to the people on YouTube. You all just stay there and I'll thank you personally, and we'll sort out your fees. Thanks a lot. Good night. Bye bye.